Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to kick off this morning's public meeting. This will be our 19th meeting of calendar year 2013, and I'd ask you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first matter on this morning's agenda is the approval of the minutes from the October 31st public meeting, and it's a pleasure to welcome Commissioner Brown for her first edit of public meeting minutes. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, and I did spend hours looking at these minutes. I have reviewed the minutes of the October 31st public meeting, and I move that they be approved as submitted.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as submitted. It's a pleasure to welcome to the podium here this morning to begin public meeting Ms. Cheryl Walker-Davis. Cheryl, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
May it please this honorable commission, on behalf of your various offices and bureaus, we present for your consideration and disposition the following agenda items, commencing this morning with matters on behalf of the Bureau of Audits. It is recommended that the commission adopt the recommendation with regard to the Superior Water Company to release the audit report.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On page 2 of the public meeting agenda and matters on behalf of the Office of Executive Director, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendation to adopt the proposed tentative order that reduces the amount of the bonding requirement for electric generation suppliers after the initial year of operation and expands the types of security instruments that can be used therefore.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On behalf of the Office of Special Assistance, it is recommended in omnibus fashion that the Commission adopt the items commencing on page 3 with the recommendation in the informal investigation involving MX Energy and continuing with the items appearing on pages 4, 5. Should be noted on page 6 that the complaint proceeding involving Larry Moyer versus PPL Electric Utilities Corporation has been postponed until public meeting of December the 19th. The omnibus continues to include the recommendation in the complaint proceeding on page 7 involving the Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement versus Jody L. Binner, and that involves the petition to rescind in their insurance complaint proceeding.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On page 8 at the top, in the proceeding involving Ken Ernestine versus Verizon Pennsylvania, Inc., there is the joint motion of Vice Chairman Coleman and Commissioner Brown.
I'd like to recognize Vice Chairman Coleman for purposes of the joint motion.
Thank you, Chairman. We would ask that our joint motion be entered into the record as though we read it in its entirety. Before the Commission for disposition are the exceptions to the Verizon Pennsylvania LLC filed to the initial decision sustaining the customer's formal complaint in part and denying in part. The formal complaint alleged a reliability, safety, and quality problem with the customer's telephone service provided by Verizon. The initial decision determined that Verizon failed to provide adequate and reasonable service under Section 1501 of the Public Utility Code. The initial decision also determined that Verizon violated Sections 6357 and 6324 of the Quality of Service Regulations on numerous occasions. The initial decision imposed a total civil penalty in the amount of $23,400. We agree with the initial decision that Verizon did not provide reasonable service to the consumer under Section 1501. Verizon failed to comply with Section 6357 of our regulations on numerous occasions by failing to adequately respond to the consumer's trouble reports, which were primarily service outages. Verizon also failed to provide reasonable continuous service in violation with both Code Sections 1501 and Section 6324 of our regulations. As to the remedies, we agree with most of the recommendations in the initial decision regarding these civil penalties. However, our joint motion makes some minor adjustments to the civil penalties, which has the overall effect of a slight decrease in the overall penalty amount. Therefore, we move that the initial decision be modified consistent with this joint motion, and the Commission's Office of Special Assistance draft an appropriate order consistent with this joint motion.
I second the motion.
Any further discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the joint motion passes unanimously.
Continuing with matters on behalf of the Office of Special Assistance, it is recommended in omnibus fashion that the Commission adopt the recommendation at the bottom of page 8 in the proceeding involving PUCI Investigation and Enforcement Bureau versus Jody L. Binners. This is the assessment complaint proceeding. And continuing with the items on pages 9, 10, and 11 through and including the petition for appeal from staff action in the proceeding involving Comfort Limousine Service, Inc.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, at the top of page 12, in the proceeding involving the application of Tiger Natural Gas Company, Inc., there is the motion of Commissioner Brown.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Brown for purposes of our motion. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 2000, Tiger Natural Gas, Inc. was conditionally granted a license to provide natural gas supplier services to large commercial, industrial, and governmental customers in numerous natural gas distribution company territories. Tiger's license was conditioned upon the company filing with the Commission proof of compliance with the security requirements for the 8 individual NGDC territories where it sought to operate. On June 26, 2013, Tiger filed an application to amend its NGS license. Specifically, they seek authority to offer NGS services to residential and small commercial customers in the service territory of Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania. To date, they have provided proof of compliance with the security requirements for Columbia. I agree that Tiger should be allowed to expand its operations in Columbia's territory since it has complied with all necessary requirements for this expansion. However, I believe it is necessary to direct them to file proof of compliance with the security requirements for the remaining NGDC territories in which it was conditionally licensed to operate. If the company fails to file the necessary proof of compliance, its license shall be amended to remove its authority to operate in territories for which it has not provided the required security documentation. Therefore, I move that Tiger Natural Gas, Inc. is directed to provide documentation within 90 days of the entry date of this order, evidencing proof of compliance with the security requirements for the following natural gas distribution companies in whose territories the company was conditionally licensed to operate in the Commission's June 2nd, 2000 order. That is Peoples Natural Gas Company, UGI Penn Natural Gas, Pico Energy Company, UGI Utilities, Inc., UGI Central Penn, formerly known as PFG, Inc., Equitable Gas Company, and Natural Fuel Gas Distribution Corporation. Also, Tiger is advised that if it does not provide such documentation, its license shall be amended to appropriately reflect the natural gas distribution company territories for which the company has provided security documentation, and the Commission's Bureau of Technical Utility Services shall prepare an order consistent with this motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
Continuing in omnibus fashion with matters on behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the remaining recommendations on page 12, as well as all recommendations appearing on pages 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 through and including the application proceeding pertaining to ABS-CBN Telecom North America, Inc.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On behalf of the Law Bureau, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the 2 items appearing on page 21 through and including the petition, the recommendation in the proceeding involving the petition pertaining to Budget Prepay, Inc., DBA Budget Phone.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On behalf of the Office of Administrative Law Judge, in omnibus fashion, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the items commencing on page 22 with the complaint proceeding involving Pittston Township versus Reading Blue Mountain and Northern Railroad, and continuing with the remaining item on page 22, all items on page 23 through and including the recommended decision of ALJ Watson and Hoyer in the proceeding involving the City of Du Bois Bureau of Water.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On page 24 of the agenda, at the top, in the proceeding involving Michael John Sottle versus Philadelphia Gas Works, there is the motion of Commissioner Brown.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Brown for purposes of her motion. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On February 27, 2013, Michael Sottle filed a formal complaint alleging that Philadelphia Gas Works, or PGW, provided inadequate service by failing to show up for service appointments to turn on service, they failed to bill him for 3 years, and that PGW's makeup bill for previously unbilled services contained incorrect charges. By initial decision issued on October 8, 2013, the complaint was sustained insofar as it sought a finding that PGW did not provide adequate service under Section 1501 of the Public Utility Code. The initial decision also imposed a civil penalty of $200 due to PGW's failure to issue monthly bills for 3 years, which was a violation of Section 5611 of the Commission's regulations and PGW's tariff. I do not believe that the civil penalty imposed in this case is commensurate with the violations. PGW exhibited poor customer service by failing to keep 3 service appointments and violated the Commission's regulations as well as its own tariff by failing to issue monthly bills to the complainant for 3 years. These violations merit a civil penalty of $1,000. Therefore, I move that the initial decision be modified to levy a $1,000 civil penalty against PGW, and the Office of Special Assistance prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
In the complaint proceeding involving Fred Lavna versus Pico Energy Company, there is the motion of Commissioner Whitmer.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Whitmer for purposes of her motion. Commissioner Whitmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like my motion entered into the record as if I'd read it in its entirety. Before the Commission today is the complaint of Fred Lavner against PICO alleging incorrect charges on his electric bill and poor customer service and requesting a payment arrangement. In the initial decision, the ALJ granted in part and denied in part Mr. Lavner's complaint, finding that the complainant did not demonstrate that PICO had billed him incorrectly or provided poor service. However, the ALJ granted Mr. Lavner's request for a payment arrangement. The record in this case indicates that the complainant had defaulted on prior Commission-issued payment agreements in April of 2010 and May of 2012, as well as 2 company-issued payment agreements. During the hearing, the complainant testified that he had a business where his average gross income had been $25,000 per month. He also testified that his current income is between $5,400 and $6,000 per month. Based on this change in income, the ALJ provided the complainant with a new commission-ordered payment agreement. However, upon further review of the record, the complainant's change in income in 2010 predates the issuance of the most recent commission-ordered payment agreement. According to the complainant's testimony at the evidentiary hearing held on July 24th of 2013, his previous business, which produced $25,000 in income per month, ended 3 years ago in 2010. The most recent commission-ordered payment agreement was granted on May 8th of 2012. A review of the record reveals that the complainant provided no evidence to demonstrate that a change in income occurred after the Commission's issuance of this payment agreement. The Public Utility Code prohibits the Commission from establishing a second payment agreement if a customer has defaulted on a previous payment agreement absent a change in income. However, a change in income must occur after the most recent Commission-ordered payment agreement has been issued. Because there has been no change of income since the complainant's May 2012 Commission-based payment agreement, we cannot issue one in this case. Therefore, I move that the initial decision be modified to deny the complainant's request for a payment agreement. The Office of Special Assistance prepare and order an opinion consistent with this motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Any further discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
It should be noted that the remaining item on page 24, that being the initial decision in the proceeding involving Jenny Carter Harris versus Philadelphia Gas Works, has been postponed until public meeting of December the 19th. With that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes the presentation of agenda items.
And I believe there's no further items to come before the commission here this morning.
Nothing further.
Okay. On that note, we're adjourned. Everybody have a very safe and enjoyable weekend.